Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo
Om
Bhagavate
Namo Bhagavate.
Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtacha Deshatarane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Well, the King Parikshit had garlanded the sage Shamik Rishi with a snake in return for being coldly treated, and now his son Shringi is vituperating, bad-mouthing the king amidst his inexperienced friends. Yeah. In 33, he said, just look at the sins of the rulers who, like crows and watchdogs at the door, perpetrate sins against their masters, contrary to the principles governing servants. And Prabhupada had commented that he was powerful by birth and training, but was lacking in culture because he was an inexperienced boy. And we discussed last time the evil, really, the anomaly of power without culture, the need to have culture as an essential element of cultivating knowledge. By the way, obeisances to Purushartha Prabhu. Thank you so much for coming. Brahmanai Kshatrabandhur hi griha palo nirupitaha sakatam tad grihe dvastha subhandam bhoktamarhati. The descendants of the kingly orders are definitely designated as watchdogs, and they must keep themselves at the door. On what grounds can dogs enter the house and claim to dine with the master on the same plate? So this is just see. This is the impudent little childish boy, puffed up by his Brahminical heritage. And Kali Yuga gets in through this foolish boy who justifies what his father's inhospitality and criticizes the king in the most unfortunate and arrogant fashion. Someplace in 11th canto, I think, it said that in Kali Yuga, arrogance will be the sign of a leader. If someone's arrogant, he'll be considered like somebody. So this is what we see. And yeah, we won't even. Are there any comments from this? Okay. Krishna Gate Bhagavati Shastar Yutpatagami Nam Tad Binna Setum Adyaham Shashmi Pashyatame Balam. After the departure of Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead and supreme ruler of everyone, these upstarts have flourished, our protector being gone. Therefore, I myself shall take up this matter and punish them. Just witness my power. Prabhupada comments, the inexperienced Brahmin, puffed up by a little Brahma Tejas, became influenced by the spell of Kali Yuga. Maharaj Parikshit gave license to Kali and live in 4 places, but by his expert government, Kali could hardly find the places allotted him. He was seeking the opportunity to establish authority. By the grace of the Lord, he found a hole in the puffed up, inexperienced son of a Brahmin. The little Brahmin wanted to show his prowess in destruction, and he had the audacity to punish such a king as Maharaj Parikshit. This is the audacity of the little Brahmin. Everything's backwards here. Now that Krishna has gone, I'll take up Krishna's business. Shastari utpatagamina, utpatayaiva kolpate. We know that verse, Shruti Smriti Puranadi. Those who claim to follow bhakti, but don't follow the Shastras, are utpata, simply a disturbance in society. They're off track. So here, the little Brahmin boy accuses the king of being an upstart, being off track, when in fact he himself is the offender. Then Aham Shasmi, since the personality of Godhead isn't here to set things straight, I'll set things straight. I'll take it upon myself. Shastari, Shastari is the king. What is it? Shasmi. Actually, it's the king who's supposed to punish. Shastatu. Shas means to control, to punish. It's the duty of the king to control the state, to punish the wrongdoers. The Brahmins are supposed to be peaceful, benevolent. But here, I'll take up the business of punishing the king. He wanted to take the place of Lord Krishna after his departure. These are the principal signs of upstarts who want to take the place of Sri Krishna under the influence of Kali. An upstart with a little power wants to become an incarnation of the Lord. So we see that someone gets a little mystic power or a little fame or a little knowledge, and he claims to be an incarnation of God and cheats the innocent people. Or we see anyone, he gets a little, what is that? Janmai Sharya Shuta Shribhir. If he comes from a good family or has some opulence, influence, education, or beauty, then he becomes puffed up and wants to show his stuff to others and exhibit his Pashata Me Balam. Just see my prowess. This is childish. Just see what I can do. But this happens. People get a little power, and we see they become they get some position in the government, or they get some position in an institution, or they get some position in anything, and they want to show their stuff. If they have a little beauty, if they have a little fame, if they have a little knowledge, then they become proud, and they start thinking that they're God, or at least God's gift on earth. And this, of course, proves ruinous both for the person himself and for others. Any comments here?
Yes, Maharaj, just a comment. The nature of power, I was just thinking as you're saying this, that the nature of power is that it attracts the very people who shouldn't be having any. You know, it's a saying that goes like that, and it's like the irony of the reality that those who really should be in power, they're kind of put off by being in a position of power. They'd rather just, you know, do their own thing or do their own progressive thing. Very few really qualified people are working very hard to gain the power in today's system. So that's like the difficult thing. And then another point I was thinking about is like this childishness. Just look at me. It seems that this childishness never really goes away in those who don't mature, and it's always there. You know, the inner child is always there. But it would seem that those who have very deep-rooted sense of insecurities or fears, and that cover those fears, they exert all these different things. Look at how much I know, look at how strong I am, and they find what area they can be strong in, and they get better and better and better at it. Not necessarily to serve others, but just to, as a mechanism to cope with their deep-seated fears. And then when it comes out like this, you know, it hurts themselves and hurts others. It seems like fear and insecurity is the root of so many evils and terrible situations in the world.
Yeah. This term inferiority complex has become a popularized technicalism. But its original meaning in psychology is not a person who feels inferior, but a person who lords it over out of feelings of inferior. Not a person who's meek and humble, or meek and shrinking, but a person who is loud and rude and authoritarian because he feels inferior. And everyone, I mean, we're all inferior. We're all, what's the word? Practically powerless. We were hearing that the other day. Practically powerless, but somehow or other we grab onto something, a political post or something, and then we become hot stuff. And as you say, it doesn't go away. I gave a seminar some years back called Psychology 108. One of the items was how to get rid of your inner child. So this the childishness really needs to be done away with. Certainly, though, and it's not just that it attracts those who are least qualified. Sometimes even qualified people have power thrust upon them, or some opulence comes their way, and then it becomes a challenge for them to maintain their Krishna consciousness in the face of this trap offered by Maya. And what to speak of those who aren't even trying, those who are, as you say, they're attracted to these things. Any other?
Maharaj?
Sure.
This is Vijaya Krishna from Portugal.
I could tell.
Yes. Maharaj, please accept my obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And this is a question related to the verses you are reading.
Yes.
And this is a passage in Srimad Bhagavatam where we see that a Brahmana is fighting with a Kshatriya, the relationship between the Brahmana and the Kshatriya classes. And here in Portugal, abortion is already allowed. And the government in Portugal is democratic, and the church is against abortion, but has no power to avoid abortion being allowed already by the government in Portugal. So my question is, in Vedic civilization, we see that abortion is not allowed, because the church, the priestly class, has power enough to remove the government from being in charge if the government is legislating wrongly against the welfare of the people. So uh, do you have any comment about how it should be? Is it that the church will get power again?
Well, one thing is that it wasn't that the abortion was prohibited because the saintly people had power. Rather, it was prohibited because the Kshatriyas had power and they were guided by the saintly people. It's not that the Kshatriyas were thinking, unless I better listen to the Brahmins, otherwise they're going to curse me or kick me out or something. They were practically like sages themselves.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so I'll repeat the question. The question was that in Portugal, the church opposes abortion, but the government allows it because the church doesn't have sufficient power to stop them. So what do we think of this? So it's not that the Brahmins had so much power. They didn't need it. They had it. And so in the extraordinary instance of King Vena, they killed him by a mantra. But that was unusual. They weren't, the Brahmins weren't throwing their power around. The powerful person was the king. The powerful person was the king. He had the power to keep people in line. Shastri, that's the word used here, the person who wields power. And the Brahmins were the guides. Like in your body, it's the arms that, have power to do things, to protect or to take action. And the head directs. And the arms and the other parts of the body naturally listen to the head. That was the right system. The Brahmins were reluctant to take up power. Even we find that, was it Vashishta Muni who came to Maharaj Dasarath's palace, his court, and said, we have a problem. These Rakshasas are disturbing us in our prosecution of our duties. Then what do you want? We want Ram to come and deal with them. So Prabhupada comments that the Muni himself had the power to dispose of these demons, but it wasn't his duty.
Yeah.
It wasn't his duty. It was the king's duty. So he went to the king and said, please help. So that was the cooperative system. The king protected the Brahmins. Brahmins guided the king. Just as you're in a healthy body, the head and the arms and the legs and the belly all work together. That's what it was like. It's not that there always had to be force from the Brahmins. That was most unusual. So now in the present Kali Yuga, everything's a mess. The church opposes abortion, but doesn't have the power to stop it. The government has the power to stop it, but doesn't have the wisdom. So everything is a mess in Kali Yuga.
Yes, Maharaj, thank you.
Anything else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Who's
Dandavad
there?
Pranam. Yashoda Dulal Das.
Hey, Yashoda Dula.
Hare Krishna. I was thinking about something in the verse that you just read, which said, since the Supreme Personality is not here, let me take it upon myself. And I was thinking, if someone does something wrong to us, what we perceive as wrong, should we avoid wasting our precious human time in pursuing so-called justice or revenge and let karma take its course and just view it as, well, this was my karma. Let me tolerate it. I'm grateful to Krishna for teaching me a lesson. and then try to focus on our Krishna consciousness instead.
Yeah, that's the general instruction. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. You know, it's his business to take revenge if he wants to. The Brahminical culture, certainly the mode of goodness means shanti, to tolerate. So that's better for us. Someplace it said, this is Mahabharata, I think, that if a person tolerates insults and wrongdoing, then he gets all the pious credit that his accuser might have had, and the accuser or aggressor takes all the sins of the person who's he's directing his criticism toward. So even from a, what would you say, a profit and loss calculation, it pays to be tolerant. But that's the nature of the devotee. He's not looking to get see that someone gets his command. Of course, this is different when there are other things at stake. When the welfare of other Vaishnavas is at stake, or other innocent people, or the institution, or when there's all things being equal, the devotee tolerates. But when it's others, just like we see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who says, be more tolerant than a tree, but he's ready to kill Jagai and Madhai because of their offense to Lord. So that doesn't change your point, but it's another consideration.
Thank you. Of course, it's easier said than done, but it's good to meditate on that. Thank you.
Okay. Something else? Okay. Ityuktva Roshatam Raksho Vayasyan Rishi Balaka Koshikyapa Upasprishya Vagbajram Visasarjaha. The son of the Rishi, eyes red hot with anger, touched the water of the river Kaushik while speaking to his playmates, and discharged the following thunderbolt of words. Prabhupada comments, the circumstance under which Maharaj Parikshit was cursed were simply childish, as it appears from this verse. Shringi was showing his impudency among his playmates, who were innocent. Any sane man would have prevented him from doing such great harm to all human society by killing a king like Maharaj Parikshit just to make a show of acquired Brahminical power. The inexperienced son of a Brahmin committed a great mistake. And again, our modern society valorizes these things. If you're, what is that? We quoted the other day. Nice critico. If someone is in the mode of ignorance, then he's expert at criticizing others. And then in Kali Yuga, everybody applauds. Great, you stuck it in his eye. So again, impudence is considered a virtue in Kali Yuga. Inexperienced also is relevant. Prabhupada uses this term many times. An experienced person knows what the result will be of his actions. He's thoughtful and he's seen. What can happen. But a child, just motivated by his own whatever, inexperienced, and doesn't take, in this case, doesn't take guidance from anyone above him. He just gets together with his friends and shows what a hotshot he is. Iti lankita maryadam Takshaka Saptame Hani Dankshati Sma Kulangaram Shodito Me Tatajuham. The Brahmin's son cursed the king thus: on the seventh day from today, a snake bird will bite the most wretched one of that dynasty, Maharaj Parikshit, because of his having broken the laws of etiquette by insulting my father. Prabhupada comments, thus the beginning of the misuse of Brahminical power began, and gradually the Brahmins in the age of Kali became devoid of both Brahminical powers and culture. So it starts with a lack of culture, power but no culture. Then finally it comes to no culture, no power. People see that these people who are claiming to be priests or saintly people or intellectuals or Brahmins are rogues by their lack of culture, by the way they behave. The Brahmins get their, from one point of view, get their power from their ideal behavior. So when they behave like rogues, then they lose all standing in the eyes of people in general. What is that? Sanyasira alpachidra sarvaloke gai. In the behavior of a sannyasi, if there's even a small discrepancy, and the whole world talks about it. It's like a black spot on a white cloth. It stands out. So the Brahmins are supposed to be ideal in their behavior, and then people respect them. The Brahmins are childish, vengeful, power inflated by a false sense of power. Then people rightly think that these guys are no better than we are, and in fact they're worse. And so they, for lack of culture, they lose culture, they lose power. Of course, their power is coming from the absolute, from the personality of Godhead, and by lack of culture, they lose that connection also. The Brahmin boy considered Maharaj Parikshit to be Kulangara, or the wretched of the dynasty, but factually the boy himself was so, because only from him did the Brahmin caste become powerless, like the snake whose poisoned teeth is broken. This is interesting. Practically, Langita Marjadam, he's gone beyond, crossed over the line of Maryada, etiquette. This is also called Marjada Vyatikrama, transgression of etiquette. So this childish Brahmin is cursing the king because the king has overstepped the line of etiquette. The foolish boy doesn't think that, is this proper behavior for me to curse a king? So he's the one who's grievously overstepping etiquette by but accusing the king of that fault. Kula Angaram, he's the wretched of the dynasty, which is exactly what the boy is. And Tatadruham, he's showing enmity toward my father. But actually, it's the boy who's the enemy of his own father, because by the acts of the child, the father becomes, what's the word, discredited, or, yeah, when there's, Chanakya Pandit says that when there's a fire in the hollow of a tree, the whole forest burns down. So the reputation of the family is so damaged when the descendant acts wrongly. Therefore, the Pandavas were asking the astrologer, will this boy Parikshit be a worthy successor to his ancestors. Because on the other side, if there's one fragrant tree in a forest, the whole forest becomes fragrant. So the child becomes either a credit to his family or becomes essentially the enemy of his family by discrediting the family. Yes.
Maharaj, I have a quick question.
Yes.
So Maharaj, in this kinds of situation, so Shringi must have been taught these things by his father, right? He must have got that from his guru or his father. Is it not therefore the responsibility of that guru or father to see that his disciple or child is worthy of getting such powerful capabilities before, giving such capabilities?
Well, it's not stated that the father gifted him with
No.
powers, but by following the Brahminical activities, especially austerity, brahmacharya, he developed some power. That happens. It's just like anyone, if he performs his duties, he gets some power, he gets some power, and then he can misuse it. Again, if someone's good looking, he has some power. People are attracted, especially women, start to think that he's some sort of demigod. He can misuse that power. If he's wise, then people think he knows something, and he can misuse that. I'm an incarnation of God, you're God, I'm God, we're all God. If he has some persuasiveness or hypnotic ability, then again, he misleads. Somebody has two devices on, it seems, and that's feeding back. So it doesn't seem that the rishi bestowed a particular power on him, but it just naturally developed. And the comparison is there in Chaitanya Charitamrita that by bhakti yoga also, one develops opulence. Specifically, the plant of bhakti is growing. And so one flourishes. But the weeds may also grow. One is watering the plant by hearing and chanting. But if one is not careful, then weeds that look something like the plant also grow. And then trouble. So these things can afflict even the devotees. We have to be so vigilant so that we don't get tricked into becoming Kali Chela, servants of Kali Yuga. Prabhupada also, is that all right?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you.
Maharaj?
Yes, Vijay Krishna. You're muted, it seems. We're not hearing you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Maharaj, in the beginning of this 37th verse, we see that the beginning of the Brahmana class to become powerless is due to the bad behavior of the Brahmana boy.
Yes.
And I'm just remembering what Prabhupada used to say about human society in Kali Yuga, that it's just cheaters cheating the cheated.
Yes.
And my question is it that Srila Prabhupada was referring to, when Srila Prabhupada uses the word cheaters, is it that he is referring to the Brahminical class of today?
No, everyone. Everyone's a cheater. The Brahmins are cheaters. So-called Kshatriyas are cheaters. The Kali Yuga was disguised as a king, even though he was less than a Shudra. So that was cheating. The whole atmosphere is rife with cheating. Not only the Brahmins. The husband is cheating the wife is cheating the husband. Everyone's cheating everyone. That's Kali Yuga.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you. Prabhupada mentions.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, someone has.
Sorry, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Glory to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept my humble obeisances. I actually had a quick question around this question about, really related to the Varanasi system. If it's still,
please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Now you've dropped out of audibility. We can't hear you at all.
It looks like she must have disconnected herself when she tried to click something.
Yeah.
So maybe she can pick it up when she reconnects.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, I'm back.
Oh, it's okay.
I accidentally
We're not
pressed the
sorry you're
button.
back.
My question was related to whether or not the Varanashram system truly still exists today in Kali Yuga.
Would the Varnashram system be what?
Still truly exists today. For example,
Yes.
In the Srimad Bhagavatam, there seems to be a very specific definition of what a Brahmana is. For example, they're priests and they didn't accept any pay. They were there to truly advise the Kshatriyas. And the definition of a Kshatriya is they're a warrior. They will fight. They have this passion in them. They were the kings. And if you think about one of perhaps the reasons why Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita didn't want to fight Kurukshetra was because of all the bloodshed and really the degradation of the family. And so you could say even all of the Kshatriya class was wiped out. And what was left was really the Vaishyas and the Sudras. And if you think that goes straight into Kali Yuga. And so you do read that Srila Prabhupada talks about the Varanashram system even today, but I've also heard that that was really just a way for Prabhupada to give some sort of social order to today's human society. And truly, for example, I'm going to say to take a dim look, but we're really all Vaishyas and Sudras. If you're a teacher, you're not considered, just because you're a teacher and you provide knowledge, you're not really a Brahmana. Brahmanas are trained in spiritual knowledge. They do yagyas, for example. And, even the Kshatriyas, quote unquote, the administrative class and the government aren't true Kshatriyas. So my question in summary is, does the Varanashram system truly actually exist today? And if so, then what are those definitions? Or is it that, again, Prabhupada tried to bring an old, Vedic society culture to today's, screwed up world to give some sort of order. And truly we're all, for example, Vaishyas and Sudras. We are all employers and we work for a paycheck. And that is the definition of what a Vaishya and Sudra is.
Okay, does the Varnashram system exist today, or is it intended to exist today? That seems to be the gist of your question, yeah?
Yes, and if it does, then, yes, and it seems like if it does, then the definitions of what a Kshatriya really is, a Brahmana, has changed from what we're reading from, for example, the Vedic scriptures and Srimad Bhagavatam.
Okay. Prabhupada at the end of this purport 37 says, the whole scientific system of the orders of society in this age has assumed the form of a vitiated caste system, which is now being uprooted by another class of men similarly influenced by the age of Kali. One should see to the root cause of vitiation and not try to condemn the system as it is without knowledge of its scientific value. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, these four sections are everywhere because they're created by me. Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam. Guna karma, but guna karma, according to qualities and activities. It's not organized, but something is there. Some people are inclined to be teachers. Some are inclined to be administrators or military people. Some are really into business, and some are, just happy if they get to do a little work and have a few beers. So there's a natural inclination toward division of society. You can't have the the untrained workers running the government. You can't have the lowest people teaching school. It's all backwards. But that's Kali Yuga. Everything's topsy-turvy. But still, something is there. Just like we've seen that in the Soviet Union, they wanted to create a classless society, but that was not possible. There were still some people running the government, some people teaching schools, some people sweeping the streets. So it's a natural. It's just like you may be sick, and your arms aren't working, your head's not working, your digestion is not working, you can't walk. But in your healthy condition, your head works like the head, your arms work like the arms, because that's natural. It's there. It's just damaged. So Prabhupada observes that in this age, the social system is so badly damaged. So then people say, well, then get rid of it. We don't need a head. We don't need arms. All power to the people. And then you get, that doesn't work either. So Prabhupada says that the right approach is not to just try to get rid of the system and make everyone equal, which is a strong bias in the present age. Why should anybody be higher or lower? We're all the same. But no, there's a natural hierarchy. There's a natural hierarchy. Some people are endowed with better intelligence. Some people are natural leaders, take charge. They have a take charge mentality. Some people are inclined toward farming or business, but it needs to be rectified. It needs to be organized. Still, Prabhupada therefore wanted to establish Varnashram, especially through the farm communities, because the true economic basis of society is the land, not, artificial, unnecessary necessities, as Prabhupada would say. So Prabhupada wanted to sit down in Gita Nagari and show how Varnashram should be done. There's a lot of talk, has been a lot of talk in ISKCON for decades about Varnashram. My observation is that if you'd like to get a good, it's like you're asking, does it exist? And one suggestion I might make, I don't know if it's still a valid suggestion, but back in the 1980s when I was on Padayatra, we went walking from village to village. And in the villages, you would see basically social order. Someone was the school teacher, someone was the mayor, someone was the grain seller. You'd see these divisions somewhat in place in a simple natural society. They may not have been perfect Brahmins or perfect Kshatriyas, but you'd see that yes, here's a natural division. It's not that the Brahmins have to do Vedic sacrifices and all of that, but Shama, Dhamma, Tapa, Shocham, they have to control their minds, control their senses, live austerely, be clean, tolerant, straightforward. They have to have knowledge and realization. These are the Brahminical qualities. Then the Kshatriyas have to be powerful, determined, expert, always ready to take on a fight, never running away. They have to be generous, and they have to have a take charge mentality, Ishra Bhav. Then the Vaishyas are supposed to cultivate the land and protect the cows. So in this way, and the Shudras are supposed to assist. So this needs to be rectified, and not just that we say, oh, caste system is an evil, or everyone should have an equal opportunity to do everything. That doesn't work. So this system should be followed as far as possible, because it's helpful for spiritual life. It's not in itself a substitute for spiritual life, but it helps spiritual life. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj?
Yes.
Maharaj, please, I need to say something here in connection with the last question and your last answer. In Bhagavad Gita, we find Lord Krishna chanting to Arjun that women and Shudras are allowed to become candidates for the supreme destination.
Yes.
So, any comment?
No.
Okay, thank you.
I'm reminded, by the way, that in the book of Ecclesiastes, which I commented on, the speaker is lamenting, I've seen slaves upon horses and princes walking slaves. So he's similarly lamenting an upheaval or an upending of the social order. Which was there in his time also. This we're going back thousands of years. It was understood that kings and princes are supposed to ride on horses. The servants are supposed to walk on foot. So I commented, I won't read the whole business, it's rather long. It's the duty of the ruler to see that all the natural parts of the social body are in the right place and working well in harmonious cooperation. When he does this, the society is in proper order. Everyone plays their part and everyone reaps the benefits. Why should fools provide the vision? Businessmen and thieves run the government to swell their own profits. Brutal men with no feeling for the land torment and slaughter the animals and suck out the very life from the earth, and millions go unemployed. Under such circumstances, one suspects that the ruler himself is foolish or incompetent. In modern democracies, when the people themselves elect the leaders of their governments, the foolishness and incompetence of the leaders reflect the qualities of those who voted them in. By nature's way, the most intelligent are the most rare, the most foolish, most abundant. So this has been a recognized problem for a long time. By the way, when I was in Istanbul, we visited, I forget which public building, and they had depictions on the wall there of the king, the Islamic king. Istanbul's been at different times Christian, Islamic, but the Islamic king being advised by his ministers, or actually not even ministers. They looked like Brahmins. You could see these were people who were not dressed like high officials. They're advising the king. So this system is everywhere. The king has to be advised, and especially by those who have spiritual vision. If I could say something controversial, I might say that from my travels, the countries where I see some semblance of Varnashram in regard to ruling power are the Islamic countries, where there's still monarchy and where the king is still respected and has power. And even where they're generous and they build, they have a lot of money and they build places of worship, grand places of worship. So it's something like what we would expect to see when Kshatriyas are Kshatriyas. We won't talk about their diet, we won't talk about other things, but something good. Anything else? Okay. Oh, we're just about out of time. Tato Pyetya Shramam Balo Gale Sarpa Kalevaram Pitaram Viksha Dukharto Muktakanto Vibhutaha. Thereafter, when the boy returned to the hermitage, he saw a snake on his father's shoulder, and out of his grief, he cried very loudly. But crying too late. He's just a child. He committed a great mistake. Now he's crying, but it's too late. Sava angiraso brahman shrutva sutta vilapanam unmilya shanakar netre drishva chankse mritoraka. O Brahmins, the Rishi, born in the family of Angira Muni, hearing his son crying, gradually opened his eyes and saw the dead snake around his body, around his neck. Visrichatam cha praprachcha vatsa kasmad ti rodhisi kenavate pakritam ityukta sa nyavedya. He threw the dead snake aside and asked his son why he was crying, whether anyone had done him harm. On hearing this, the son explained what had happened. Purport: the father did not take the dead snake on his neck very seriously. He simply threw it away. Actually, there was nothing seriously wrong in Maharaj Parikshit's act, but the foolish son took it very seriously, and being influenced by Kali, he cursed the king, and thus ended a chapter of happy history.
Mars, there's one comment on the chat box.
Okay, Suman. One should see, just a confirmation, one should see to the root cause of vitiation. The root cause is pride of the Brahmin caste. Scientific value is the very purpose why Krishna created the system. The system is created to foster spiritual advancement. The whole Varnashram system. What is that? Ta pumbir dvijashreshta Varnashrama vibhagasha swanustitasya dharmasya samsiddhi haritoshanam. The whole system is meant for the satisfaction of Krishna, to enable everyone to be engaged in the service of Krishna. But yes, pride of the Brahmin caste, and not just the Brahmin caste, but an inexperienced, puffed up son of a Brahmin, uncultured, arrogant, all of these qualities. So we have to be very careful. If we want to have, if we want to be Brahmins, if we want to have Brahminical society, Brahminical families, Brahminical life, then we have to guard against these things. The false pride of by which one becomes puffed up, becomes arrogant, and curses others, or so much uncouth, rude, uncultured, vicious behavior in the name of being a Brahmin. But we have to be careful. Janmai Sharya Shuta Shibir Edamanamada. By birth, by wealth, by education, by good looks, we can become puffed up, and then that becomes an impediment to Krishna consciousness. Should we stop here?
This is a good time to stop. There's one more comment from Glenn Arkin.
There is. I don't. Oh, not that. Oh, I see. I missed one that was above Shuman's. Okay. Glenn Arkin. Bhagavatam often refers to incidents like this as the will of the Lord, and those aspiring for pure devotional service accept this absolutely. But still, in present culture, there's a tendency to take this very cheaply. Someone gets the job or gets sick. Well, everything happens for a reason. God meant for that to happen. Mundane persons have no chance to understand divine will, but still we are very attracted to express things that way. A person whose discrimination is not strong can be swayed by this. Well, when there is a sense in which everything is God's will, or everything is happening under God's, at least, permission, when things don't go our way, when there's some misfortune or some trouble, then it's recommended that one should think that, yes, this is Krishna's arrangement, let me accept it. That's not wrong. That's not wrong. But one shouldn't act wrongly and then say, that God made me do it, or, it was the will of God, that I shot my mother-in-law. It wasn't my fault, it was God's will. That's rubbish. One has to take responsibility for one's own acts or one's own failures to act. But when things come upon us, then, even like Parikshit Maharaj, he acted wrongly by insulting the sage, and then he thought that surely some reaction will come upon me, and I deserve it. So in that way, that's how a thoughtful or sober person thinks. It doesn't try to stick it on Krishna, but he understands that nothing can actually be accomplished without the God's divine will, one way or another. Even when the demons act somehow or other, it's permitted by God, and God will have his own way of dealing with them. But we can't cut God out of the picture. Is that all right?
I think this is a good time to end. It's past 9 o'clock.
Okay. And tomorrow?
Yes.
Right?
Yes, so tomorrow at 7:30, the time is a little bit earlier, so please join at 7:30 tomorrow for His Holiness.
We were hearing 7:45. Is it now 7:30?
I have it noted here at 7:30. Maybe around, it's earlier, so I think it's going to be 7:30 because it's going to be 5 a.m. in India, so it should be translated 7:30 over here. Initially, it's going to be 7:45. It's made a little bit earlier. So please join tomorrow on the same channel at 7:30 for His Holiness Lokanath Swami. And then on Friday, again, His Holiness Jayadvaita Swami will continue on this topic. Saturday is Radhika Raman Prabhu from Idaho. at 8 p.m. and then Sunday, Adi Gadadhar Prabhu at 6 p.m. So please continue joining on this channel. We have something for you every single day of the week for at least the next 3 or 4 weeks. So
At least.
at least. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Maharaj.
Krishna,
All
Hare
right.
Krishna, Hare Bol.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Hare Bol.
Krishna Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Bol. Hare Krishna, Dandvat.
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.